being an interruption in the, as we said in the Gemara, that we should not be anything separating the person, the body, the hair has to come in contact with the water, and there shouldn't be things that are outside sources that are separating between the water and the hair. So if you have, that's what yesterday we were talking about, if the hair was knotted, if it would be a problem, issue of chatzitza, issue of an interruption. So if we're on the Gemara on Vav and Aleph on 6a towards the bottom, where the Gemara says, the Gemara had a question, because the Gemara said that the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, because the halacha l'Moshe Sinai that was given from Sinai in the oral law, Hashem told Moshe certain laws. We have the Torah, we have the written Torah, and there are certain laws that Hashem told Moshe. And Hashem told Moshe about this fact that there's something called the chatzitza. Good morning, Mr. Batesh. There's something called the chatzitza, that chatzitza, that foreign item will interrupt the dipping in the mikveh. And the Gemara said that there shouldn't be, first the Gemara said we have a pasuk, which we don't need the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. We have a pasuk that says that, es kol baruchas es besora b'mayim. We have a pasuk that says that you have to go ahead, and we learn out that all of the flesh has to be immersed in water, and there shouldn't be foreign substance when you're dipping on your flesh. And then also the Gemara said, also we find the pasuk that teaches us there shouldn't be any foreign substance on your hair. That when you're dipping in the mikveh, you shouldn't be something separating the hair from the water. So the Gemara says, so we have sukkim, we have verses that teach us this law of dipping, full immersion, that when even though you're fully immersed in the mikveh, it's still outside. If you have something else, an outside item, let's say you have dirt or the hair is knotted, that stops the water from going all the way in through the hair. But you have the dirt that acts as a block between your the waters of the mikveh and your hair, because of the dirt that's stuck in your hair. So we have sukkim, we have verses from the Torah. So if it's verses from the Torah, so how do you say it's a halacha l'Moshe Sinai? How do you say it's something that's based, not scripturally based, that it's just oral law when we see it's written law? That's where we're up to in the Gemara. Okay? So the Gemara says, Mr. Batesh, are we clear with what the Gemara is saying over here? So the Gemara now, we're on the bottom of the page. The Gemara answers, Ki atoi hilchata. What is the halacha l'Moshe Sinai? One Ariel. Ki atoi hilchata is the Rabbi Yitzchak. The halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and again, we want to dedicate today's learning to the Ilin Neshama from Mr. Safti. I think we should hold the whole week. Ariel, we should dedicate and encourage people to come during the Shiva, especially, always. You know what I mean? So that's what the Gemara says. We need it for the Rabbi Yitzchak. Good morning, Jaime.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. So we are on the page. We are on Vavam and Aleph. We're on 6a. Yeah, very good. That's the group that we're on. So the Gemara now says that the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, the oral law, is to explain the written law. Meaning to say, there was a written law. We brought a verse, we brought a pasuk that taught us that there can't be a foreign substance in your hair that will go to block the water from going properly throughout your hairs. And there's a pasuk that says it has to be that the water has to go esat eta tafel, even the item that's tafel l'bsaro, even the item that's secondary to your flesh, meaning your hair. The water has to go throughout your hair. But the question is, how much what about if you have one hair that has some dirt in it? Would that invalidate the whole immersion on a Torah level? Or we have to see, would that invalidate immersion or not? So what are the parameters, what are the laws of this idea that a foreign something, if there's some foreign substance in your hair, dirt in your hair, or some other thing in your hair, that is going to be a obstruction to the dipping in the mikveh? What are the details? Any amount of dirt, what are the details? So that the details of that law that's what we mean, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. The details of the law were expounded to Moshe from Sinai, and that you will not see in the pasuk. And that's what the Gemara says. And what were the details of the halacha l'Moshe Sinai on this law? So that's where Rabbi Yitzchak comes in on 6a in the article 6a2. It's the right corner. Tiatai ha'chata l'Rabbi Yitzchak. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said the following. Now we turn the page. We are moving at a faster pace, as everyone notices. We are on Vav base. Okay. Dvar Torah. On a Torah level, Rubo u'magdir alav chotzeis. Two conditions need to be met in order to be considered a chatzitza, in order to be considered a interruption in the dipping of the mikveh. Is, let's say you were focusing on the hair. Rashi emphasizes that this halacha mashina is on the hair, and that if the majority of your hair has something in it that obstructs the water from going there, and not only that, you are makpid, you are particular about it. You don't want that item to be in your hair. So what would that mean? So that would mean if, let's say, the way Rabbi Fishelis, Rabbi Feinstein's son-in-law explained it, he said that if, let's say, I don't have too much here to show, but if in every hair, if every hair has a knot, not every hair, 51% of the hairs, or 50.1% is the majority, has one knot. And we said yesterday that a single knot in a hair is strong, is tight. If one hair has a knot, is knotted, and if we have 51% of my hairs have a knot in it, or that means if you count the hairs on my body, on my head, and then you would say 51% of it have something that's not allowing the water to go into every piece of that hair, or 51% of my hair has dirt in it. There was some mud, and let's say a guy fell into mud, and now throughout his hair, in each hair, so it doesn't mean that it has to cover 51% of the total area of his hair. That if in each hair, that's how he explained it, that if each hair you have something that is not that is preventing the water to going into 51% of those hairs, good morning, that's called the majority of the hairs have something, something that's stopping it, the water from going in. And also, that's only one condition. There's a second condition that's being met. If it bothers me, I don't want it to be there. I don't want that. I'm very particular about it. I'm particular about, I don't want mud in my head. And people don't want.
Morning, Rabbi.
Yosef. If it's something that I'm particular about, that I don't want it to be there, it's not something that usually a person would want to be there. They want it to be removed. So that would be a type of thing that would be considered an obstruction to the waters of the mikveh. So two conditions. One, I don't want it to be there. Morning. And we're going to read more about it soon, but I don't want it to be there. And also, it covers a majority of those hairs. Similarly, but if those two conditions are not met, then it's not considered an interruption on a Torah level. On a Torah level, both have to be met in order to be considered. Remind me, Max, that's what I thought. On a Torah level, it has to be, both conditions have to be met. So we're reading we're on Vav base, 6b. We'll read it again. Dvar Torah, on a Torah level, Rubo, you have to have the majority of your hair, and also Umakbid alav. And also you have to be particular about it. You don't want it to be there. I object to it being there. That's chotzeis. That would be considered an interruption. But if I am not particular about it, I don't, if I'm not particular about it, it doesn't bother me. I'm happy that it's there. I'm happy that it's there. It's not considered a interruption. So if only one condition is met, let's read it again. If it's majority of the hair and I don't want it to be there, that will be an interruption. If doesn't bother me, doesn't bother me that that's there, that's not considered an interruption. But the Gazru, the rabbis, made a gzeira. The rabbis are here to protect us. And they said, Al Rubo she'ena makbid. If I have a majority of my hair, if the item is covering the dirt, let's say it's covering the majority of my hair, but I am not, doesn't bother me. It's not, people generally in this situation doesn't bother them that this item on the majority of the hair. But the rabbi said, we have to say that immersion is no good. Mishum rubo hamakbid. Because if you're going to allow an immersion that's covering, there's some foreign item that's covering the majority of that hair, even though they're not particular about it, they don't mind having that in their hair and they leave it in their hair. But then they're going to think that even if I am particular about it, that type of item, they're going to make a mistake and they're going to say the same way it was a good dip when I didn't mind having the majority of this item in my hair. So they're going to think that it's also a good dip even if I did mind having that item in my hair. And we said if it's covering a majority and you mind having it in your hair, it would be considered an interruption and it would invalidate it on a Torah level. Yes. Okay, so very good. So we're going to see that it's if the majority of the people, it's something what's called, we're going to see about the norm and maybe about the person himself. But for now, we could say if it's normal for the average person to be particular about this item, most people don't like dirt in their hair. The fact that this individual says, I don't mind, I like keeping dirt in my hair, that doesn't help because the majority of the people don't like dirt. The norm will not to have that in the hair. It's something that people don't want. It's something that people generally object to. And then we're going to see also, what about if you as an individual object to something? But it's normal not to object to it. There's room to say that, we'll see about that. Maybe that's also called, you are particular about it. So even if the norm is not to be particular about it, but if you're particular about it, that should also create a stringency because you don't want it to be there. And so we're going to see more about that very soon. Now, so the rabbis made it a gzeira, a decree on majority that you're not particular because of the majority that you are particular. And then the rabbis made another case. Al mi'uto hamakbid. Let's say you have something that does not cover most of your body, or most of your body, or most of your hair, but it's something that you don't want there. It's something you don't want there. It's dirt. No, you don't. Some people don't want dirt, and you have a little bit of dirt in your hair. If you have a little bit of dirt in your hair, what's the halacha? But it doesn't cover the majority of your hair. So on a Torah level, there's no problem. If it doesn't cover the majority of your hair, you're fine. But the rabbi said that if it doesn't cover even if it doesn't cover the majority of your hair, if it covers the minority, if the fact that you are particular, you do not want this foreign substance in your hair, we gotta make a gzeirah. We're gonna make a gzeirah. We're gonna say that it's no good. Why is it no good? Mishum rubo hamakbid. Because we're afraid if you're going to say that when you have a minority that you are particular about, that you don't want, if you're going to say that's good on a rabbinic level, so then people will make a mistake and think even if you have a majority that you are particular about, they'll also think it's good. So therefore, the rabbi said, if you're makbid, if one of these conditions are met, either it covers the majority of your body or majority of your hair, and you're not particular about it, or it covers a minority of your hair, and you are particular about it, we're going to make a gzeirah, we're going to make a rabbinic fence to protect you, and we're going to say each one of them, the dip is not a good dip. Why is it not a good dip? Because there is a concern that if you would allow this type of dipping, then they would allow a dipping which would be biblically prohibited. So therefore, they also said, if there is a foreign substance in someone's hair or on someone's body, and you're particular about it, even though it's a minority of the body or the minority of the hair, which on a Torah level, it's no problem. But it didn't cover the majority of the body, it didn't cover the majority of the hair. But you are particular about it. You don't want this foreign substance in your hair, this dirt or on your body. The rabbi said, we're afraid if you're going to say it's a good dipping when you're makbid, when you object to having this on your body, even though it's on a minority place, we got to protect when you're going to object to having something on the majority of your body, which would be the biblical prohibition. So to ensure that we don't come too close to violating the biblical prohibition, the rabbi said, that's not a good dipping. Just like the rabbi said, you can't move a pen on Shabbat. On a Torah level, there's no problem moving a pen. But the rabbi said, if you're going to move a pen, maybe you're going to write with the pen. So the rabbis have to protect and ensure that you won't come to violate the biblical prohibition. Is everything clear? Max, is it clear? And what? Right, so even the individual doesn't feel that it bothers him, but if the majority of the people are particular bothers, that should also be considered that it bothers. It's with that also, we're not going to just say because you don't think it doesn't bother you, but if the average person it bothers, that's called something that people object to. And if the average person doesn't object and you object to it, I think it's also considered we have to be strict. We're going to see maybe what I have here. The Mordechai Eliyahu. We're going to see how he has a whole chapter. He has something called it's a very beautiful sefer. I learned this with some of the great guys here before they got married, especially the people from the Moroccan descent, because I was told that the Moroccan Jews, I was told one of our students here, his father learned this sefer when he was getting married. So I said that if that's what your father learned, I'm going to learn it with you. I did with two of the great guys here. It's the complete ways of purity, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, laws of family purity for Sfardim and Ashkenazim. And it's here in the Safra. We have it in the Safra. This is the English. It also has a Hebrew edition. I think it even has maybe a abridged edition because it's a little bit a larger edition. And we're going to see soon some of the laws of this chapter 16, very detailed on the chatzitzot, under intervening substances regarding the mikveh, and we're going to get to it. So the Gemara says like this. And by the way, it's interesting. He taught the women. He became Rishon LeZion. I bet Jaime most probably knew him, Mordechai Eliyahu, and he became Rishon LeZion, and he taught the women the laws of family purity to teach. He trained the teachers. He gave a class that trained the teachers on family purity, that the women should go out and train women. And they asked him, I think they were the ones that asked him to put together a book for the world on this See, it says the way this book, The Ways of Purity, started as a series of lessons that our rabbi delivered in his house 30 years ago. The students were women who trained brides and wives of students of Yeshivas Merkaz Harav. These lessons took place in his house in the name of Kiryat Moshe and were summarized in pamphlets, which served as the first material for this book. After several years, the pamphlets were gathered in book form and so on, and this is the 4th edition. Now, when something is in 4th edition, then you know it's very popular. You know, when something's only once, it's not, you know, might not, it doesn't indicate the popularity unless they published 1,000,001 Florin. But that's, I think it's a very great work. I just want to share with everybody. I had the honor of going through a lot of it. So, good morning, Mr. Silverman.
Morning, Rebbe.
Morning. So the Gemara continues. Mr. Silverman, we are dealing with chatzitzot. We're dealing with having foreign substances, things that you object to on your body regarding the mikveh. And we just said that according to the Torah, the violation, the way that it would be invalid, the dipping, is if it was focusing here on the hair of a person's body, the hair of the head of the body. If the item that you object to, the chatzitza, that foreign thing, is something you object to, it covers most of your hair, and you object to it. But if it doesn't meet both conditions, it's not invalid on a Torah level, but on a rabbinic level, if one condition is met, either you don't want it there, you don't want this dirt or whatever that's not there, you don't want it, something you're particular about, even though it doesn't cover the majority. Or case 2, you don't mind that it's there, but it covers the majority. The rabbis made a gzeirah that dipping was not good. So then the Gemara asked the question: "V'ligzal nami al miuto she'ena makpid mishum miuta hamakpid." Why don't the rabbis make a gzeirah on a minority of the hair or the minority of the body that has the foreign, something that you object to? Let's say you have dirt on minority of your body, and it's on the minority in your body, and we should say, and even if you're not particular about it, even though it doesn't bother you, it's on the minority of your body, but it's something, it's a foreign it's a foreign item. There's some foreign substance that's obstructing the water to come onto the full hair. It's not covering the hair because there's something there. There's some dirt. But it's the type of dirt that doesn't bother people. Why don't we say that if you're going to allow a minority of dirt that people don't object to be a good dipping, then even when it's a minority that people will object to, they're going to think it's also a good dipping. And you told me a minority that people object to is not a good dipping, at least on a rabbinic level. So why don't the rabbis go another step? They should say that a minority that you're not particular about, a foreign item, should also be no good at dipping. Why? Because if you're going to say a minority that you're not particular about is good, then a minority that you are particular about, that you object to, you also will think is good. And therefore, and that will be a problem, because we said that rabbinically, that's not a good dipping. Or the Gemara says, Inami mishum rubo she'ena makbid. Or we should say, if you have a spot, foreign item on your body or in your hair that you're not particular about, which is on the minority of your hair, we should say that if you're going to allow it to be good, we should make a fence. Then you're going to think, if it's also on the majority of my hair that I'm not particular about, people will think it's good. If it's good when it's on, if it doesn't bother me, it's good when it's on a minority. People will think, if it doesn't bother me and it's on the majority, it'll also be good. And we know if it's on the majority of your body or on the majority of your hair that you don't want, that it doesn't bother you, it's also rabbinically, it's no good. So we should make, the Gemara is saying, why don't we make a gzeirah? Why don't we make a fence when it's on a minority of your body and it doesn't bother you? We should still make a fence. That's the Gemara's question. Again,
Rabbi, if we were back in Makot, would there be a difference between
transgressing offense and the actual item?
Yes. The transgressing offense would be a rabbinic violation, and for transgressing the item itself would be, again, if we're talking about eating something that's not kosher, right? That would be a biblical prohibition. And if it carries with it lashes, then it would be lashes. There would be biblical lashes, and sometimes there's something called rabbinic lashes. Sometimes, so something violating a rabbinic law has one level, violating biblical law would have a different level. Here it would be if you violate the actual thing, if it's not a good dipping, because there was a foreign substance on the majority of the hair, and you were particular about it. That means the dipping is no good. The person still is in the same state they were. If the lady is a nidah, she's still a nidah. She's still forbidden to her husband until she does a on a Torah level.
In this case, if the dipping is invalid, you're transgressing something that carries karet.
Correct. If he would go with his wife, it would be something that would be correct. If he would go into the Beit HaMikdash, it would be correct. It would be the very serious consequences if the actual thing itself would not be
is that the reason that the fences were created, because the transgression of the actual item is so heavy that they needed to create a fence?
I think you're correct. We find a lot of fences on sins. The rabbis made fences on sins that carry with it great punishments. We find that more, most probably, than the rabbis made on things that don't carry that level of great punishment. But we find a lot of things, let's say in basa b'chalav, when it comes meat and dairy, there are a lot of fences the rabbis came to prevent that sin. Even though that sin, eating meat and dairy together, doesn't carry with it karet, it carries with it lashes. The person would cook meat and dairy together and eat from meat and dairy together. If it was cooked, once it was cooked together, there's a prohibition to cook meat and dairy together. There's a set prohibition to eat meat and dairy that was cooked together. But the rabbis created many fences to make sure that we don't come to eat meat and dairy. Even though the punishment was not karet, it was malkut, it was lashes. So many times the rabbis will create fences because the job of the rabbis is to create, one of their jobs is to create fences to protect the Torah law. So even if the Torah law doesn't carry with it karet, if it carries with it malkut, that also would be their job to ensure they have to protect the Torah. That's their job.
Rabbi,
yes.
To add to what you're saying, the mikvah, it's brought down, halacha is you make a mikvah before you write a sefer Torah for a town.
Right. The first thing
it's the highest. The
first thing in a Jewish community. Right. I think you're correct. Even before before opening up a shul, you can't open. You have to have the mikveh till you open a shul. So daven in the house, make a minyan in the house. But the women have to go to the mikveh. You can't have. Guy can't be with his wife. So we have that. That comes first. Correct. So
Rabbi, one other thing. You're saying that you mentioned that if it doesn't bother you, the chalitza, that it's okay. But for a woman, we don't hold like that. No chalitza.
Yeah, we hold. Okay, we're going to see. We're going to take out a Mordechai Eliyahu. Maybe we'll get to it right now, as Silverman's pointing out. The way our Gemara presents it, and the Gemara is going to answer the question why we don't make the Gezerah. And the Gemara, I'll just read the Gemara's answer, and then we're going to get to what Mr. Silverman is saying. The Gemara answers, He gufa Gezerah. If you have a foreign item on a minority of your body, and you are particular about it, that is a rabbinic law. Foreign, you object to it, but it's only on a minority body. Or it's on the majority of your body, and you are not particular about it. Those two cases are a rabbinic prohibition, right? Because you didn't meet both conditions. You only met one condition. You were either particular about it, but it was only on a minority of your body, or you were not particular about it and it was on the majority of your body. Those two cases are rabbinically prohibited. Now you want to make a rabbinic, and you want to further the fence, and you want to go ahead and make a fence on a rabbinic law, a protection to the rabbinic law. We don't make a fence to protect rabbinic law. Generally speaking, We generally make fences to protect Torah law. There are exceptions to the rule. Many times there is a Tosos that says that sometimes you make a fence on a fence in order that, or else if you don't make that fence, if the whole fence wouldn't be a fence, if you wouldn't add the other fence, then maybe they will make an additional fence. But in general, the general cloud, the general rule is we don't make a fence to protect the fence. The Torah says, I want you to make a fence, make a mishmeret lemishmarti. Make a fence to protect the Torah. The rabbis did not generally make fences to protect their rabbinic fence. It's 2 steps away. So it's an additional step. So that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Higu v'gzera, v'anan nekum v'nigzag gzera l'gzera. Are we going to make a fence to a fence? So to make a fence on a minority of the body that you do not object to, you have dirt on a minority of body that you do not, it's a foreign substance. It's stopping the water from going to that part of the body or that part of the hair. But but since it's on a minority of your body and you do not object to it, to make a fence, what will you be protecting? A fence. Because if you're going to say that's no good because let's say a minority of body that you're not particular about, you're going to say, I'm going to say that I make a fence because I might come to say a minority that I am particular about. I'm going to think if it's good when it's a minority that I don't mind, I'm going to think it's a minority that I do mind. Minority that you do mind, even if I make that mistake, that would be a rabbinic prohibition, a minority that I do mind. So the rabbis don't go ahead and create that fence to protect that rabbinic law. But to protect the Torah law, the rabbis make the fence. Meaning to say, the Torah law is, Jake, that if it's on the majority of the hair, majority of your body, and they're particular about it, they don't want it there, that would be invalid. So the rabbis say, okay, if it's on the majority and you are not particular about it, we're going to say that's forbidden. Because if you say if majority you're not particular about it's good, they'll make a mistake, a majority that you are particular about. Or that's the Gemara. Now, here in Mordechai Eliyahu's Sefer in chapter 16, he says like this, Mr. Batesh, to address some of your general guidelines of chatzitza. Anything that women are particular to remove, even sometimes, is a chatzitza, is a disruption, and it's in the immersion, even if this individual is not particular about it. If anything that general women remove this item from they don't want this thing on them. It's not something they want on their body. It's dirt, it's other things, whatever it might be. Even if this individual woman says it doesn't bother me, it's still considered a problem. Similarly, anything that she is particularly particular about, that she doesn't want this on her body, even though right now she is not particular about it, is a chatzitza. Even though women in general are not particular about it. If she's in general particular about it, it's considered a problem. If the chatzitza, if this foreign item covers most or all of the body, woman's body, even though nobody is particular about such a chatzitza, but like we said, that's our Gemara. If it covers the majority and nobody is particular about it, that's the rabbinic law that it's no good. It invalidates the immersion. Then he talks about a chatzitza invalidates the immersion if it is attached to her body or her hair. However, if it is loosely hanging on the body or the hair, even though he brings 2 opinions on this, even though women are particular about it, it does not intervene between her and the water, therefore it doesn't invalidate the immersion. Other authorities disagree. And invalidates the immersion if the women are particular about it. Okay, ideally, ideally, lechatchila, we are stringent in the court of opinion, but she has, okay, it talks about different cases. What if something is loose on the body, it's not tight on the body? What will be the case over there? It is proper for her to immerse without any items on her body, even if they do not prevent contact with the mikveh water. And even if women are not particular about them, a woman who immerses with something designated as a chatzitza, if it's really considered a chatzitza, she has to remove it or immerse again. So there's whole, and then he discusses what are considered chatzitzot. Hair pins, hair clips, hair bands, these types of things. And he goes into knotted hair, like we spoke about. He says dyed hairs. He talks about dyed hairs are not a chatzitza. Therefore, you don't have to remove the dye, he says. But he said if they were once dyed a while ago and a natural color is now evident as her hair roots, she should try to have them dyed again or to remove the dye to avoid being particular about it. Okay, there's different discussions of what is considered a chatzitza, what's not considered a chatzitza. So that's something that the women learn, and that's why it's important that women have to learn properly before they get married, the laws, to know exactly what's an issue and what's not. So the Gemara says, now we're continuing in the Gemara, mechitzin. We said that one of the things that halacha l'Moshe Sinai was a mechitza. That, we had that, what is the size of mechitza? The size of mechitza, we said, is 10 tvachim high, right? That's the size of a mechitza. It has to be 10 tvachim high, and it has to be also, then we also said that the schach need to start on top of the 10 tvachim. None of the schach should take up the space, the space of the 10 tvachim. It has to be on top of the 10 tvachim. And we said, that's a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. So the Gemara says, mechitzan, Hadamaran. That's we need the halacha Moshe Sinai to teach us that what we just said, that the certain height of you need 10 tvachim high. So the Gemara says that's only good. Hanichal Rabbi Yehuda. That fits according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, who he needs the halacha Moshe Sinai and mechitza because he had no pasuk from the Torah. But the Gemara says El Rameya. Rameya had a pasuk. He was able to learn it out. So according to him, why do we need the halacha Moshe Sinai if he was able to learn it out from the pasuk? The Gemara brought pasukim before, verses before that the pasuk that he was able to learn out the size. So the Gemara says, "Ki atai hilchata legud, lavud, and dofen akuma." The halacha Moshe Sinai regarding the mechitza. Remember, we spoke about one of the things we spoke about is dofen akuma. If you have a wall, we spoke about if you make a hole in your ceiling, and you put schach in that ceiling, but adjacent to that ceiling is not and you're using the walls of the house as the walls of the sukkah. But the walls are not next to the schach. There's a space between the walls and the schach. It's not that you have the walls and you have the schach here. You have the schach here and you have the wall here and you have not kosher ceiling here. So we said there's a law that you go ahead we look at the wall as if the wall moved, and the wall is crooked and it goes right over here. That's one of the laws that the halacha Moshe Sinai is teaching us, that the wall could extend. As long as it's within 4 amot, if it's within 6 to 8 feet, let's say you have to be strict, 6 feet to the schach, to this hole in the ceiling. So we look at this wall as if it came close and it'll be considered a kosher wall. We'll continue more tomorrow. I want to wish everyone a great day. And thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Rabbi, that's called levud, right?
That's called dofen akuma. Levud is when you have within 3, if you have a space within 3 tvachim, an empty space within 3 tvachim, within, let's say, 9 or so inches, we look at it as if it's close. That's the love. It's as if it's joined.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. You're safe. Take care.